Hello guys, this is Student Investor. In today's video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about why, hold on, the lighting is a bit messed up. I'm going to be talking a little bit about why I am going to be investing in a certain ETF, and this ETF is involved with cannabis. Why I am going to be heavily investing in cannabis over the next couple of years. There's a couple reasons for that, right? There's a couple reasons why you want to be a part of this growing industry. And reason one is because it generates a hell of a lot of tax revenue. And my philosophy for investing in cannabis over the coming years is because, with the certain situation that is going on right now that is not allowing people to work and get high paying jobs or the wages that are livable anymore, we are going to need a way to make up all that tax revenue because a lot of people were unemployed for about 2 years. And the issue with that is when you have a lot of people unemployed, you are not gaining the tax revenue necessary to reinvest these funds into things like Social Security, food stamps, welfare, transit, infrastructure. It kind of messes up a lot of things. Money kind of runs a lot of things, whether you want to believe that or not. It does, and it's very important to military expenditure and stuff like that. And whether you don't agree with that stuff or not, that is besides the point. We kind of just need it. We kind of just need money. Money kind of, runs the world here. But the reason why I think cannabis coming over the couple years are going to be very heavily undervalued is because one, tax revenue, and two, there is a hell of a lot of people that smoke now. I mean, like, it's ridiculous. Before, cannabis was a very taboo topic, and if you smoked, you were like the equivalent of like a junkie. But now it's not anymore. It's kind of just mainstream, and then people that just smoke that's really it. And we are seeing a trend where more and more states are starting to recreationally allow the use of cannabis and the grow of it. So what that means is that these states are capturing tax revenue in ways that other states can't, and the states that do participate in this industry that are gaining the tax revenue could very much use their funds in ways that other states can't, and they could do things like reinvest back into their communities and their infrastructure and build more schools and hospitals and stuff like that. So funding is very abundant on that end. And in front of me, there is this ETF called the THCX ETF. So we are on their website, and they have a bunch of holdings here. There is also another ETF that I'm going to be mentioning in this video, but you can see these are companies right here and their allocations, how much shares they have in quantity. And these are just cannabis companies. They either distribute cannabis, produce cannabis, recreational cannabis, or whether it be medicinal or not, doesn't matter. They're still in the industry. There is another there is definitely another ETF that I also have in my portfolio that I will also be contributing to. This one is on the Nasdaq. I'm not sure about the other. I didn't look into that, but this one has a lot of allocations as well. And I believe that, I always say this, like, if you don't want to assume a lot of risks in the market, but you still want to invest and you're not sure whether you want to pick one company or another, ETFs are a great way to go. If you haven't watched my other video about the 5 beginner mistakes that I see newbie investors make all the time, go watch that other video. It's on my channel. Go and click on that and learn from that video. But in that video, I said that it is a mistake not to invest in ETFs because ETFs are just too good of an asset to have. ETFs do pay dividends. ETFs allow you to expose yourself to across multiple industries or focus yourself inside of one industry, whether you want that or not. And it just gives you the value of holding multiple things at once without spreading your money too thin, so you're making a reasonable return. And sometimes those returns could outperform the market. And there's plenty of ETFs out there that outperform the market. And if you guys want to know about that, please subscribe, because the next video coming up after this is about the top 3 ETFs that I've researched and found to outperform the market over the years. So if you want to add that to your portfolio, go and be sure to hit the subscribe bell and the notification bell so you get notified when that video comes out. But besides that, we're talking about cannabis. So tax revenue is very, very important. So my philosophy for doing this is when I go and decide to buy something, I pick at certain things and I look at certain factors before I go and decide. And I go record myself doing that and I go post it on my YouTube channel so you could see my investing philosophy. So you could see how in depth I go when I talk about investing in a company. I kind of just don't throw my money anywhere. I kind of really do put in the work and time required to do so. I did this with Apple, so if you want to go watch my in-depth analysis on Apple and why I spent some money on Apple and why I bought shares of Apple, go over to that video on my channel. But we are talking about this. It is a growing industry, whether you like it or not, whether you don't agree with it, whether you believe that it shouldn't be a thing and that it should not be federally legalized. It's going to happen no matter what. And the reason why it's going to happen is because the feds are going to want to capture tax revenue back wherever they can. The last 2 years have been a disaster for the feds' revenues, and we printed a lot more money than we should have, and a lot of things have went really wrong. But a way to fix that is to have a growing economy. And there's two things that contribute to a growing society. It's tax revenue, and then it's the workers. It's us, it's the people that work, because when we work, we recycle our money and we go and buy goods and services that then when we do that, we pay taxes, and then that tax revenue goes to the feds, so they get their part and we get their part by getting our products and services like our milk and eggs, our clothing, our phone bills, our Netflix and stuff like that. So it's a win-win situation. This is also a win-win situation, right? Because people that want to partake in the industry can partake in the industry without being federally scrutinized or just scrutinized in general, and generate a hell of a lot of money, right? And if you don't believe me, just check this out. Right here, the impact of tax revenue, the economic benefits of legalizing weed. This is Investopedia. It's a very good website if you want to educate yourself, and they have a lot of good terms and stuff here that if you don't know, you definitely come to this website. Go search it up here. There's a lot of good articles in here that you could read, a lot of good reads. And this is where I go to get some knowledge, and it works out very well for me. So right here, I'm going to highlight it right here. This right here. Colorado collected more than $300 million in taxes and fees on medical and recreational. So it's not just one or the other, it's both. It's both contributing to this massive collection in taxes. $300 million in taxes is a lot of money for a state to have at their exposure. I mean, that's a lot of money that they could spread out across multiple different facilities and sectors where they could pave new roads, they could reinvest in new communities, they could just do things that they can with this sort of money that they can't without it. Like if a state generates this much amount of money in tax revenue just from cannabis alone, that means that they don't have to go to the feds and cry for help and saying that, oh, we need money for this and that, because they could directly reinvest within their communities because they know their states are buying cannabis. So if they legalize cannabis on a federal level, that means all states that follow along and choose to legalize them at a state level, that means that they could specifically capture that amount of money and reinvest in themselves, and it's just better overall because that takes a lot of the headway that the feds have to do, that they have to make up for and print all these dollars just to save and bail out some states, when the states could just generate income themselves. And some states impose like special taxes on cannabis, like I think Massachusetts does. They have their own like state specific tax revenue that has to be applied to every cannabis sale, whether it's recreational or medicinal. So they get to keep that money, and when they get to keep that money, that just means more money that they have to reinvest in themselves and make the states better, and they don't have to go turn their heads to the feds and cry for help. But that to me is just big. Like that to me is just huge. And just going down the list here, Sales in the states totaled over $1.7 billion. Sales in the state totaled $1.7 billion. That's a lot of money to be floating around in this cannabis. That means that industry is huge, and whatever's out there now is definitely undervalued because it's not capturing all that revenue. There's no way in hell that all of the cannabis companies that are out there now are getting a piece of this pie. Why? Because it's not federally legalized. There's no way that they could all benefit. But the second they can all benefit, the second this is all allowed, we are going to see a lot of companies that are in this industry boom. I mean, literally boom. This is something that you shouldn't miss out on. And I'm not going to go and pick out the best individual cannabis stocks because they're all good in my opinion. I believe that if you are in the space already, they're all good. But I don't feel like bothering and doing the research for that. So that's where the ETF portion comes in. That's why I will be buying the ETF. I will be buying THCX and POTX. And those are the two ETFs that are largely focused on that industry. And that's just going to be a big part of my portfolio going on. And if we keep on reading, it says sales in the U.S. were 12.2 billion in sales in the U.S. was 12.2 in 2019 and projected to increase to 31 billion by 2024. That is huge. That is like that's a 3x return on your investment. I mean, like if a company were to recapture that and have 3x more foot traffic through their doors and 3 times more people buying their products, you are going to see that come back into your investment, and you're going to see that growth in your ETF. So it's kind of a no-brainer to put yourself in a position where you assume the less risk, because an ETF is like a box. It's kind of like you put your money here, and then when you put your money here, it exposes you to all these different companies. But you get to choose that, right? You get to choose what type of ETF you want to invest in. So when you do that, you get exposed to all of this growth. And it's just something that I personally believe is on the up and up too. It's kind of like that thing that is like nobody is really noticing right now. Nobody really talks about it because it's just been around forever. And then, there's just also a lot of stigma with talking about it. But if you want to make some money, we're going to have to talk about it. And if you're an investor, you're obviously in the business of making money over time. And whether that be actively or passively, mostly passive, because that's what investors like to see, passive gains, this is a way to do so. So this is just my personal belief, and this is just why I think I'm going to be heavily investing over the coming years into some cannabis ETFs. Those are the 2 reasons why. 1, tax revenue, and 2, demand. The demand is definitely there. Colorado has definitely seen some demand, and that only means there's more demand to be had, because the more and more states that legalize it recreationally, we will see people go and buy cannabis. That's what's going to happen, because people want this. We wouldn't be talking about federally legalizing this like we wouldn't be talking about federally legalizing cryptocurrencies, because people want to invest in cryptocurrencies, people want to spend cryptocurrency, and people want to smoke weed. So it's just a no-brainer. So that's just my philosophy. And if you guys like this video, comment, like, and subscribe. And if you are invested in any individual cannabis stocks or ETFs that I may have not mentioned or that you didn't see in this video, comment down below and then tell me your reasoning why you're holding it and how much shares you have in that position. So that's about it. I'm a student investor. Keep on investing. And guys, the support that you guys shown has been immense, and I will be making a lot more videos coming soon, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. That's it for this video. I'm out. Stay invested, stay smart,